بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful.
لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. As always, we commence by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sending blessings and salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and all his household, all his companions. May Allah bless them all and all the previous messengers and all their companions as well. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless every single one of us and our offspring, those to come up to the day of judgment, and may He keep us all steadfast. Brothers and sisters in Islam and brothers and sisters in humanity, having been brought up in a country that is not a Muslim country, and having been through a British schooling system before going through a Saudi schooling system, I think I have learned a lot over the years and appreciated the civilizations that I've lived in. And at the same time, this afternoon, being asked to speak about how best we can help the future in terms of the generations that we are trying to prepare, and to keep the topic connected to that, I'd like to start off by saying something very, very important that every one of us will relate to. Children grow faster than us in technology. Remember that. What I mean by this is, you might be one of the top IT specialists, but there will be a child somewhere down the line, maybe even your child, who will go through much more in such a short time that they will be able to use that technology much more effectively than you could or than I would. And this brings me to point number one. Promote the use of technology with your children, but the guided use of technology. Don't divorce yourselves from technology. There are people I've met, and I'm associated with what is called the AMS, the Association of Muslim Schools of South Africa. And I've spoken several times in many schools as well. And what I've realized is, you get the old school, people who say, no, this is very, very bad. Technology is not bad. Technology is good, but how you use it can make it have a negative effect on you and perhaps on the entire generation. The same applies to wealth. We discovered diamonds in Zimbabwe recently, a few years ago, and what we noticed is there are 2-3 types of people who've benefited from the diamonds. One of them is those who became wealthy and they changed their lives, modernized absolutely everything, but remained with sound morals and values. Wow, good luck to them. And then there are those who saw the diamonds, they became wealthy, and they forgot that they're actually human beings. And they need to interact with other people. They need to develop their character and conduct. This is why I say, no matter how popular you are, no matter how powerful you are, no matter how wealthy you are, you will only be able to achieve inner peace when you humble yourself. Bring yourself to the level of people where you talk to them and you appreciate them. So go to the life of, for example, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and you will find he took the extra moment to make children feel special. Try that. I know we're speaking here to perhaps educators and parents, but to be honest with you, if you take a moment to greet the children and make them feel important, it solves a lot of their internal crises that you may never ever get to know. Subhanallah. Really it does. So I'd like to call on yourselves and myself as well. When you see a child, Take a moment to smile at them, acknowledge their presence, and acknowledge sometimes what they have to say. Treat them with such a special treatment that they feel we are part and parcel of this community, and we mean a lot. I mean a lot. If a child has something to say, gone are the days when they would just look at you and say, I wish I could have said this. Now they should be able to come with respect and say, sorry sir, I tend to disagree. How do you react when they disagree with you? If you're a Muslim, and even if you're just an educated person who might not be a Muslim, you need to understand your reaction to disagreement will go a long way in educating that particular child who disagreed with you. So people will come and say, I think Islam is barbaric. Wow, okay, you think Islam is barbaric. Hey, shut up, keep quiet. Who the hell do you think you are? Don't you know? That's just confirming how barbaric they think it is. That's what it is. But you need to say, okay, tell me why, or we'll talk about it, don't worry, take it easy, go and enjoy yourself, next week we meet. And let them have the gap, you have the gap, you can actually think about it. This is just an example I've given you off the cuff. But to be honest, when you get back to them and when you try to explain to them and let them see the light, I have cases where people have told me, that beard put us off. I'm honest with you. I just saw it and I said, not this guy. And I said, okay, not a problem. I said, it's fine. I appreciate, how you think and so on. But perhaps it's just because of the stereotyping of the globe. You need to give people a chance. You need to know not everyone is the same. People follow what they believe is right. But what makes you a person is when you can discuss with others, when you can explain to others, when you can arrive at some form of an understanding. And this is why when it comes to matters of different faith, a few moments ago I was speaking with some of the members of staff and a very important point came up and I thought maybe I'd share it with you, very interesting. And that is, a lot of people, Muslim and non-Muslim, do not know about other faiths. They don't have a clue. So they think these people are barbaric, not because they are barbaric, but because they don't know. They have no clue. And one of the solutions I found to be very, very helpful is to pick out common points amongst religions and promote them with the children to say, this is not just an Islamic teaching. Did you know Christianity teaches this and Judaism teaches this? What will happen is the child will begin to understand, and we are preparing people who will be tolerant people of tomorrow, not the barbaric people of today that we see. But what happens is the child will see that, wow, this faith is also a heavenly faith. They are trying to, promote goodness. They have morals, they have values. A lot of people think the barbarism that is across the globe is because we're trying to follow our religion. So part of it is to be intolerant. That is highly unacceptable. We live in non-Muslim countries where, to be honest with you, we enjoy the freedoms that they have offered us, and at the same time, we have managed to understand our own religion in a very, very balanced way, where you look at others and appreciate them. If I am different, and I think differently from you, it does not make you a bad person or me a bad person. We need to arrive at a common understanding. The reason why I'm spending a little bit of time saying this is, the generations to come are in your hands. You're either parents or teachers. How are you speaking to them? How do you come across? Do you want them to give up their morals and values and perhaps even beliefs? If that's the case, you've lost the plot. Because all faiths teach and preach high morals and values. They all do. But if you'd like them to benefit from modernization, and if you'd like them to be a component of a peaceful globe tomorrow, in that particular case, you need to open up their minds a little bit and show them what the world is all about and teach them how to make use of whatever's at their disposal. May the Almighty make it easy for us. It's becoming more and more difficult. As you know, television. I was at the hotel this morning and I'm not a TV fellow. I'm a reality fellow, So even the shows they say are reality shows are in actual fact sometimes, not as real. But I opened up the booklet in front of me, from where the remote was on the side of my bed, and I was shocked to see 75 channels. I said, wow. Imagine if a typical male would be flicking all night. Wow. Do you know that? Typical male would be flicking all night, doom, doom. And wife would be saying, can't you just stop at one? You know, I don't know if you've come across that, but it happens. Maybe you haven't seen it because you've all got your own TVs, so that problem solved. But then I thought to myself, I said, it's so difficult to help your child make up his or her mind as to what to watch. Because if you're going to say, don't watch TV, they might come up and say, are you living in the 60s? Are you a Stone Age person? So you have to come up with a suitable alternative. And what is the alternative? To guide them, to tell them, wow, this is excellent. Let's watch it together. Spend a bit of time with them. Or have a comment or two. Have a little incentive or two. Everyone has a different situation. But if you let it pass unguided, you're wrong. Why are you a parent? Because Allah's put you there, the Almighty's put you there, so that you can utter a word or two of guidance to those children. You have a responsibility. You're an educator or a teacher. You have a responsibility to speak to these young children who are in front of you, who are the leaders of tomorrow, and to prepare them for that day by opening up their minds to that which is upright, so that they can understand what is wrong and what is right, and they can actually follow it. And this is why we say, if you haven't had time for your own children, then it's about time you made that time. You know I'm speaking to parents here as well, and a point that has come across very strongly is there are a lot of us as parents who we work very, very hard, and we earn a good salary. And the reason, if you were to ask a parent, why are you earning? They'll say, I've got a family to look after, and I'm paying perhaps for my house, or perhaps I need this and that. And they don't realize that the same children you're trying to live in order to serve are being lost because you haven't spent time with them. And from this, I'd like to tell you, you're so lucky you're living in a country that's laid back. Qatar, mashallah. Laid back meaning it's not as fast as the first world. It's not as fast as countries where, you leave at 5 o'clock in the morning and they only see you later on, if you're lucky, at 8 o'clock in the evening. Here, mashallah, lunchtime, you've got your kids with you again. I'd like to hope so. We see it. And in the evening, they're with you again, mashallah. Beautiful. What an experience. I see I'm getting the eyes from people who must be saying, my family's back at home. Okay, I'm sorry about that. But at the same time, we are so lucky, so fortunate, because we have this tailor-made sort of situation that is so easy for us to guide our children. When you have one meal with your children, the table manners on their own, and the way you teach your children how to be within that table, that itself goes a long way in building the mindset of the child. But we don't realize this. You sit with your child and you don't need to be this Hitler sort of attitude in the home where, hey, it's me, I'm the boss. And they look at you and they're like, Dad is there. There must be a free environment. Because today, it's not like when we were young. I know when I was young, believe me, we were frightened of our parents. I know I looked at my dad and I was... It's no longer like that. My children, they can stamp on my head, believe me. And I've got to carry one here, the other one here, and one on my back. And you've got to move. So what? That's the children of today. When they feel loved, they learn. And they learn from those whom they get that attention from. This is why some people say, my child is very, very unruly. Do you give them attention? Do you actually acknowledge their presence? Do you listen to them? Do you have the time to listen? Or are you one of those on the phone every time? Yeah, sorry, what did you say? Sorry, no, say that again, I didn't hear you. That's what we do. It's a fact. We're on the phone, whether it's BBM or WhatsApp or whatever it is. Whatever it is. We're guilty of becoming a generation where your child can be advised better by you if they contacted you via WhatsApp. You'd probably get more time. It's a fact. And this is why, come on, we need to change this. We are building a generation. One wonders what's going to happen when they are older. I have a feeling that they will be having communications which are implanted into their ears. So you won't even see it. They'll be saying, yeah, okay, I saw that. What's going on and so on. So the cameras will be implanted somehow and it's going to go into their ears somehow. They won't be carrying any tools anymore. I think that's coming. It's not impossible. And when that happens, how are they going to be talking to each other and what's going to be happening? Already today, everyone's locked their rooms and everyone's behind. and people are sitting on their own computers and you've got to tell them food is ready. The back, they say send it to the room. It's happening. It is happening, believe me. If that is how we have a relation with our children, then there is a lot to improve. We need to go backwards slightly. Backwards in what way? Not in terms of modernization. Modernization is there, and if you do not move with it, believe me, it will overtake you. So you need to keep up. But at the same time, when it comes to your values, your morals, your lines, your system of belief, your faith, the contentment you have within you and so on, share it with your children. And share it with those whom you are teaching by being upright. Extremely important. When we have educators, for example, we're all human beings. We all have bad habits. When I say bad habits, some people have worse habits than others, and we're all trying to work on our bad habits. But when you're teaching children, you leave your bad habits outside the school. They stay there. So once when I said this, one of the educators or the teachers told me, "Are you preaching hypocrisy?" You know what that means? That means you're telling us to leave who we are outside there, and when we come here, we must be somebody else? And I said, no, I'm telling you, your bad habit is not good enough to be shared with the children, so leave it outside the door, so that you can promote goodness and you acknowledge that it's bad. I'll give you an example. A cigarette. We know, we don't want to discuss the ruling of, the edict or the fatwa on smoking. That's besides the point at the moment. But what is a point is, it's a bad habit. Would you like your children to be chimneys? The answer is no. Nobody would like their children to be smokers. So what would happen is, when you enter the school, everything stays in the vehicle or elsewhere, and that bad habit, the children must never see you with it. Good news to a parent who goes into a little small room or hides somewhere to smoke so that the children don't know that dad smokes. Good news to them. Wow, you're a real role model. And the same applies to teachers who might be smoking. Look, it might be too late, for example, you might be addicted to it. To be honest with you, just on a side note for the smokers, I came across something very interesting called Champex. Champex, if you Google that, you'll see it. It's just a tablet you have for 3 months. No side effects, no withdrawals, no matter how badly addicted you are to cigarettes, it's gone. That's their guarantee. So you can Google it, inshallah, Champex. I see the sisters are smiling because the husbands need it, I think. May Allah protect us. Champex. You can have a look at it, inshallah. It's something very, very interesting. They say no withdrawals. That's the main thing. Because when I used to preach, I used to say, brother, you've got to quit it. And when you get to about from 30 cigarettes a day to about 2 or 3, maybe stay at that because, we don't want you beating up your spouse and so on. But now, mashallah, we don't need to say that anymore. So the reason I raise this is because if you have an acknowledgement within you that this habit of mine is bad, and you leave it outside the door as you walk into the school, what will happen is you will be able to build a generation based on ideals rather than taking your weakness with you. Some people have a habit of swearing. They have a very bad habit of swearing. But when they come to school as a teacher, they do not swear. Why? Not because they're hypocrite, because they know this is a quality that I do not want to seep into this next generation. That is leadership. So leadership sometimes would entail that you leave a bad habit because you don't want it to seep through to a generation that is projected to be tomorrow's leaders. The same applies to parents. And this brings me to one more point, and that is, when you have an opposing environment at school compared to that which is at the home, the child is confused. Child is confused. So we need a partnership between the parents and the teachers to be on a similar wavelength, to say, this is what we preach, this is what we teach. We'd like you at home to ensure that the morals and the values remain the same. You need to be as strict or as disciplined. What's the point of us at school saying one thing, and when you go home, the exact opposite is what is done. Tomorrow when they come back, we're at square one. We're busy fighting with our kids instead of enjoying educating them. So this is something that we as parents also should not, meaning the negative qualities, we should not accept. Your child swears, you need to know how to deal with them. There was a time, many years ago, when corporal punishment was the in thing. It's banned in most countries at the moment because there are more effective ways of dealing with children. Sometimes we're too lazy to go into it. We just take a stick and next thing the child is whacked. And we threaten the child to say, I'm going to whack you, you watch. Is that how you're going to build tomorrow's leaders? If you have a habit of wanting to whack the child for every error they've done, let me tell you what happens. When they become a president, one day inshallah, anyone who disagrees with them, they will whack them, won't they? That's what we have on the globe today. Every little disagreement we have, we are whacking the guy. Why? Because that's what we were taught when we were young. I disagree with you a little bit, and next thing, the bombing starts. Allah protect us. I disagree with that guy and the killing starts. And I disagree with this man and the gun is out. What's that? Sometimes it's an attitude that was built from the school, and it comes up as the child grows, because the child was never taught that there is a scope of disagreement within which you will have to live. Amazing, amazing. Not everything I say will be palatable to everyone here, but there will be something I've said that you might take home. And the same applies. You might say something, not everything you say will be totally acceptable to me, but there will be something that I will learn from you that I will take home. This common factor is far greater than the little disagreement we have. You know, I was seated in an aircraft because I fly a lot. So we meet all sorts of people, mashallah. And I was seated in an aircraft. I'm going to share it with you because I think it was very, very interesting. I jumped onto the plane. I was the last guy on. And as I went in, I just seen people look at me. Whoa. And I just, it's my opportunity. Come on. You don't even know who I am. And then there was a space next to this one lady, elderly lady. And she just, she actually moved to the side. Whoa, what's going on here? And I just went in, I nodded my head, morning. She looked at me, and I sat down. A moment later, a while later, they handed out landing cards to the UK. And I needed one of them, so I basically took a card, and I stood up to take something out of my bag, and I seen everybody looking at me. And I'm thinking, this is a stereotype. This is something disastrous, because really, I do not want to give up my identity. And at the same time, I need people to know that, come on, because of 2-3 guys, you don't mess up the whole population. And so what happened is, I took my passport out, I took my pen, and I started filling a form. And I can see she's looking from the corner of her eyes. And mashallah, because we studied and we worked very hard, we went through, as I told you, a British system. My handwriting is actually neater than the average person, alhamdulillah. So what happened is, I was writing as though I was typing. I did a course in calligraphy as well when I was at school, so you can imagine. If you got any certificates to write, give them to me, inshallah. So I'm busy writing, and she's looking, and I can see there's something interesting here. She says, do you speak English? I said, yeah, English is my first tongue. I said, do you speak English? She says, yes, I do. Where are you from? I said, I come from Zimbabwe. She says, I can see that, She says, wow, I lived there before. Do you know that? I said, okay. You lived there before. Oh, that's great. I said, I know so many people in Zimbabwe. I'm sure you'd know of you. I said, who do you know? She said, I won't take the names, but she says, my grandchildren are there. Guess what? Her grandson sat next to me at school. And we got talking, and she was like, oh, so great to talk to you. You know what happened? The whole aircraft was now so happy that these two are talking. Wow. And I thought to myself, I said, this is education. She has just been educated that there are some decent people who want to stick to what they believe, and yet they really acknowledge that you also have the right to stick to what you believe. I'm not here, to convert you. I'm not here to call you an infidel solely because you have a different faith compared to mine. But I do know that if the two of us happen to speak, there's going to be so much common ground, so much that your grandchild was a friend of mine sitting right next to me at school. Amazing. And I recall a very good youngster, and we had a good discussion and so on. But the point being raised is, if we are not going to speak with one another, if we are not going to communicate, we will not understand that, we really can contribute towards a better globe by being people who can learn from one another, tolerate, see, understand, value each other. The same way, one might think, I don't need you. Well, I might think I don't need you too, but if the Almighty would like to create that need, don't say, I don't need you. No. You're a human being. You are my brother and sister in humanity, to start with. And we are all the children of Adam. May peace be upon him. And then what happens? If tomorrow I see you somewhere, and I have done it more than, in fact, countless times, I don't even know how many times, when I've seen elderly people, when I've seen people who are perhaps disabled, I insist on helping them a little bit, even if it means slightly. And wallahi, I promise you, that insistence educates the people as to the mindset of the average Muslim. To be honest with you, because I give you an example. I saw a nun that landed with us in Johannesburg, and she was quite an elderly person, and she was trying to grab her bags, get hold of her bags from the carousel. And I was there, a young man, and I said, look, please, mum, can you stand aside? I will get your bag. Just point at it, and I'll get it for you. And she just looked at me. Why? Do you know why? She was in the process of being educated. That's what it is. She's receiving some form of education free of charge. Yeah, I know, Al-Maha, I hope it's free anyway. So, what happened? And I grabbed hold of a heavy bag, got hold of it, put it onto her trolley. There were 2 pieces of luggage, put it on, and I said, if you wait for a moment, I can help you push it. Let me just get my bag. She said, no, it's fine. I can push this thing here. And then she says, do you have a business card? Wow. I was thinking to myself, she wants a PhD now. It's a fact. She's just been educated. Now she wants... And when I took it out and she saw Zimbabwe there, she said, I'm from there as well. And I said, what's up with Z? It's right at the bottom of the alphabet, but so many people are there. And she says, you know what? I come from this and this place, she explained, where if you have a moment, you can come and visit us there. I said, I will. Inshallah, if I get a moment, I will. And I haven't yet been there, but I'm planning to actually go and visit them and see if she is still there and, maybe have a bit of a chat on religion and so on. She was a nun. And this is amazing. The reason why I say this, like I started this talk telling you that when you have been brought up in a non-Muslim country, sometimes you have a better understanding of your religion when it comes to relations with others and how to be able to treat people of different faiths and to look at them and to acknowledge them and to benefit from them and they benefit from you. And there is no harm in discussing matters with respect of faith as well. Because people would like to know, like I would like to know. I've asked many questions to many people and they've asked me. And I don't feel bad. Even if they come and word it initially so badly, I need to prove to them that, Islam is not what the general globe is made to think it is. It's actually something very unique. It's something that is rapidly growing, and even if we say that's besides the point, but if you were to stick to its proper values and preach it correctly, you would actually make the world a much more peaceful place. And the same applies to people of other faiths. So this is why we say, when we're building tomorrow's leaders, inshallah, we need to bear all this in mind, spend time with our children, teach them the goodness of the globe, let them modernize, let them go beyond, inshallah, what we have. We'd like to see our children excel far beyond us. And they will, because technology, like I say, the S4 was released on the 27th of April. They're already speaking of the S6 in terms of the phone being manufactured. And the technology is far ahead what is actually released to the public. You need to know this. So if we see our children and we love for them to be above us in certain aspects, we would actually have to see them grow far beyond us. We need to sow a good seed. And what's that seed? Show responsibility, show respect of others. A lot of us are guilty. Okay, I know I'm speaking to educators and parents, but I speak for humanity at large. When we have those working for us, we're guilty of not speaking to them with respect. That's something that our children watch. And when they watch us speaking to those, whether it's a helping hand at home, whether it is someone at the school, when they watch us speak to them with disrespect, they're educated. How are they educated? They are taught that if there is a person you pay, you can treat them as you wish. And that is one of the worst pieces of education. It's not even education, it's something so bad that you could ever leave behind for your child. I give you my example. And I'm not saying I'm a saint or anything, we're just ordinary, normal human beings. I will go out of my way to greet a child. I will go out of my way to make sure that a helping hand feels more important than your average person. And I've seen the results of it. And I call on you to do the same. Your children will see you have a helping hand, they're coming to offer you tea and so on, they're coming to do this, speak to them with utmost respect. That is education. So what I've said to you today, I've shown you 2 examples of how we've educated people of other faiths. And I've also told you that we, in a similar manner, educate our children without us realizing we are educating them. They might have a PhD from school, but the PhD they got from the home is far more effective, plays a bigger role in their general living and the standard than that one. Yet we don't even know we were the ones responsible for this. So let's be, inshallah, people who can, stand up to whatever we believe, inshallah, and at the same time, these morals and values, we want to enhance them. You notice the globe becoming so advanced, one hand, and the other hand, morality is dropping, values are dropping, tolerance is dropping, people are becoming more and more intolerant, they're getting angry and upset. I have a little son, and somebody gave him, he's 6 years old at the moment, and somebody gave him an iPod. And the little boy got hold of it, Dad, and I tell him, you know what, you need to earn the hours. This is how I play, it's my game. So he does certain things, he earns an hour. He does something else, he earns half an hour. And then he gathers a few hours and he gets it, and there's a sand clock that goes the other way, and he can have it for that period of time. So within a short space of time, he's already on a game, and he's already, without a lie, one of these racing car games on a global level, they connected onto Wi-Fi, so he can race with people who are in another country, and he's only 6 years old. And when I was told this, he's telling me, oh, there's a guy from Czechoslovakia who's faster than me. I said, what? But this guy, he's just been on it for a little while. And I thought, subhanallah, look at these guys. They're playing with people from across the globe. A game, I'm racing, but the guy next to me is being controlled by someone somewhere. I don't believe this is going on. And then when his time was up, he says, no, Dad, come on, 5 more minutes. No. And then I said, okay, 5 more minutes, And 5 more minutes. 5 minutes becomes 10, and 10 becomes 20. Then you got to say, you know what? You got to pause this thing. But I'm going to lose. Now what happens is, he started becoming very irritant, in the sense that his level of tolerance was becoming lower and lower. And this is a real life example. So he's angry, he's always upset. Any small thing, he wants to get back to the game. Now I realized, you know what? We're going to need to think of a different solution here. Because people are becoming intolerant. As much as we'd love for children to play games, but you need to consider the negative aspect. So what do I do with him? I say, forget about Czechoslovakia. I will race with you. Beat me. So when he's racing with me, I can control. Now people might say, oh, but you're such a scholar of Islam. Do you really play computer games? I don't, and I don't want to. But I'm forced to. And I need to know how it works. SubhanAllah. I wouldn't like you to picture me doing that. But anyway, you have to do it. You are building generations. What's the point of going and speaking to the whole world when your own family is crying for you and they're waiting for you to be their real leader and you're not there for them? What's the point? You need to spend some time. So I said, look, son, I will race with you. Come. He's excited. He's waiting for me. He says, Dad, I'm going to show you. I said, no ways. In real life, I know I drive very fast, and I'll show you. Even on the game, I show you, I'll beat you. So inshallah, we hope these are just different solutions. You've got to be very fast in your thinking. You've got to think solutions which are not made up of laziness. A lot of people say, okay, my son, very quiet, very, very quiet. But what does he do all day? Well, I just plonk him in front of the television and that's it. He sits in front of the TV and flicks on his own and he no noise. Until the following morning, he's fine. Well, if that's the case, he's being educated by, do you know what? Pornography sometimes. Astaghfirullah. May Allah protect us. I know I'm speaking of our countries where little children already hooked onto the the worst of habits. Nowadays, when you say bad, they mean good. You know, I'm bad. You know, that means I'm really good. So you don't even know how they talk. Really, so to be honest with you, we need to come up with something that is workable. I might have given you examples that do not fit in your life, but at least you will be able to take something from them, inshallah. And I can go on, but I know it's a Thursday. Everyone wants to go, so do I. So until we meet again, brother, I hope and I pray I've said a few words coming from someone of, my own status, or should I say, a little guy from Zimbabwe. And I appreciate that you've come here to listen to what I've had to say. It's just a word that I've had to share with you. We stand for education for male and female, definitely. People think education is not for females because we are Muslims. I think that is lack of education that makes them say that. And at the same time, we also stand for tolerance and peace, and we promote that actively. And we believe that education goes a long way in promoting whatever we stand for. So I hope that we can actually be people who can stand up for all this in terms of goodness, and we can be on the lookout for any negativity and try and eradicate it or deal with it in the best possible way so that we can be an asset to the future. And until we meet again, we end off saying, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabina Muhammad, subhanallah bihamdih, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka.